Bienvenidos, señoras y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting, and your favorite casino and card games are available to play right from your phone. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. And joining us on the Carne Asada is a man that I think you guys have all seen on the internet. It's when the Dodgers play the show pods, it's always fun for us because not only is he one of the hosts on the Ring the Bell podcast, which you can listen to on our network, on the Believe Network, but he also has the Hog Watch. To me, he is, no disrespect to Tony Gwynn, because everybody knows how much I love Tony Gwynn. Borna is Mr. Padre. Borna, bienvenido, my friend. ¿Cómo estás?
Juan, Roger, Amy, thank you guys so much for having me. It's wow, what two different situations, Dodgers and Padres, but I am doing good. Not for you guys, for me, it's an off day, so I get to relax a little bit on the Padres front. Not really, never relaxing, but thank you so much for having me. The show is absolutely crushing. I'm glad we were finally able to get this crossover going.
Well, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Borna, this is the reason why we wanted to have him show, because this man has passion. Not only does he have passion for what he does, but he has passion for the show pods. Babyface, can you play the clip?
Uh-oh.
So much shit to Dodgers fans. This is why I keep trying to tell you guys, like, the whole Kershaw shit, the whole showing him on the crybaby scoreboard. We won one series against them. We don't have shit in our trophy case. That's why we're acting like a small city. This is exactly why. Because when you talk, the bunny's got the gun. When you talk, and you talk, and you have nothing to show for it, you fucking pay the price the hard way. This is why I hate it when we show the scoreboards, we show all this shit, and all you guys try and make fun of Dodger fans. Breaking news, they've done a lot more than we ever have as an organization.
Borna, why are you cringing, man? That is an awesome rant. There is so much honesty there. I mean, looking back at it now, how does that make you feel?
I mean, I cringe because it's myself, right? I mean, I don't take back anything that I said in the moment, and I still stand by that. I do believe the Padre season did go south right after that. I do believe in the baseball gods, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I definitely think last year when we beat you guys in the NLDS, I was talking to a buddy. I said, listen, we went out and celebrated that night, but the celebrations were ongoing into the NLCS, and that's kind of the difference of these organizations. We needed to act like we did belong and take care of business, and I don't think the organization quite really fulfilled that promise. But listen, I mean, it's been a very up and down season, but yeah, I did truly feel that in the moment. I'll never forget, I was at that game when Mookie Betts hit that home run with 2 outs to go against Josh Hader, the difference of that series this year. And man, that was incredible pain. Part
of the reason why I like watching you and listening to you is because as much as I know the show pods are your team, I don't think you're a homer. I would never think of you as a homer, and I appreciate your honesty. Now, you sit there and you say you believe in the baseball gods. So after this, so what went wrong? That show pod's first half, like what is it that put them in the same category as the Metropolitans as the biggest disappointments in Major League Baseball?
Let me first preface this by saying the Padres are actually only 4 games back in the wild card spot. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I think as bad as it's been, they're definitely not out in the count, no pun intended. Here's the deal with the Padres. What was their difference last year? They were able to win every close game. This year, they haven't been able to win any close game. They're 6-18 in one-run games. They're 0-10 in extra inning games. That's a 6-28 combined record. That's putrid, pathetic, anemic. And that's the difference. I mean, we know they have the 3rd highest run differential in the National League, behind your Dodgers at 2 and behind the Braves at number 1. They are a talented team. They've shown that. They've crushed teams. They've blown out teams. But earlier on the year, they couldn't hit with runners in scoring position, and now they just can't win close games. I mean, that's the difference. But again, it's still all right in front of them. They are one game under 500, huge 4-game set coming up. As bad as it's been, as ugly as it's been, they're not out of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, Borna, because I want to give credit to La Reina de Playa Larga, Amy Cuevas here, because Amy never counted the show pods out. Amy had always said, go ahead, Amy, explain why you thought the show pods were never going to be out of it.
And no disrespect, you guys run on spite. Like, you guys are kind of like your rant. Like, you guys don't have anything from a trophy perspective to show yet. So you guys use that to fuel you in the second half of the season. And you guys give us a run for our money every year. And so for me, it's like you said, you're four games back from the wild card. You're 8.5 back from us right now. But you guys aren't out as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's another thing. Again, I don't want to get greedy at all, but usually at this time of the year, the Dodgers are 20 games up in the National League West. It's only 8 games. And a lot of people are talking about the wild card. The Padres and Dodgers have a huge 4-game set right now. I mean, that can really dictate. The Dodgers take care of business. They may run away with the division. The Padres take care of business. Anyone can win the division outside of the Colorado Rockies. And that's the one thing I've been telling Padre fans. It's like, listen, you saw what they did at the trade deadline. They softly bought, which is what I'd say. They got help in their bullpen. They got a right-handed DH guy in Garrett Cooper. They got a left-handed DH guy in G-Man Choi. It's all there. And Ruben Niebla and the Padres, they have the best rotation in baseball. They're going to have the National League Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell this year, who's going to be pitching against you guys on Saturday. So, again, as bad as it's been, Amy, I couldn't agree more. They're right there for the taking. But then they lose 3 out of 4 to the Dodgers. I'm back to ranting and crying again. So I'm a roller coaster, just like the team.
Hey, Borna, before we get into the series, the Dodgers and the show pods, I do want to talk about, you brought up the trade moves. I know at the beginning you thought they should have been sellers, right? Are you happy with them not selling and going for it? Because I just think there's too much talent on this team to keep them down for a whole season, right?
Yeah, I think there's too much talent, but I think the Padres could have bought and sold at the same time. When you really think about it, they have $116 million tied up to Yu Darvish, $100 million tied up to Joe Musgrove. You tell me they want to give Blake Snell another $160 million and have $500 million tied up to the top 3 of their rotation. So as good as Blake Snell's been, I would have dealt him. You would have got a fantastic prospect haul for him, and you could have bought fringe starters like Rich Hill and whatnot. I don't think Blake Snell on and off this team is the difference. The pitching has been so good, and they can still get some guys to help, but cash in on some of their rentals who are just crushing it. I mean, Josh Hader, he's going to want $100 million in free agency. You just traded for Scott Barlow, who can be your closer, and you have Robert Suarez signed for 5 years, who was arguably better than Josh Hader, right, last year, even against your Dodgers. So, I felt like they could have done both, but you know how AJ Preller is. He's an all-or-nothing kind of guy, and listen, he's going for it once again.
Amy, I don't know if you know this, but the Ring the Bell guys are not fans of AJ Preller. So, Borna, I'm assuming you're in that same boat.
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, listen, I think he's a great scout. I don't think he's good at delegating and building a roster. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest Preller fan.
So in terms of the trade moves that they did make, like, what was the biggest need? Was it the bullpen? Is that what this team needed?
Yeah, it was the bullpen, I'd say, and definitely a DH bat. So, the Padres in the offseason, they went and signed Nelson Cruz, and they went and signed Matt Carpenter. Both have absolutely backfired. Nelson Cruz was DFA'd. Matt Carpenter's bat speed is slower than I don't even have an acronym for. So what did they do at the trade deadline? They went and traded for G-Man Choi, who's been hurt for the most part this year, but hits a home run in every 12 at-bats. So he can be a guy, for example, you can start against Bobby Miller tomorrow. And then when you're facing a left-hander like Urias or Kershaw, you went and got Garrett Cooper, who has an 850 OPS against left-handed pitchers, who has good slug. So I think they addressed that need. And then they go get a guy in Scott Barlow, who was one of the best closers in the American League in 21 and 22. He's having a bad year. They bought low on him, similar to Hader last year. And look what Ruben Niebla was able to do back to Josh Hader. The hope is to do that to Barlow. He's under contract for next year as well. Hader probably walks, and you have Barlow. So the bullpen's fatigued. You added to that. You added some depth. Listen, this Padre team's loaded. They are loaded. They just got to get it done internally. Loaded team, though.
Amy, what is your concern going into this series between the Dodgers? It's a 4-game set between the Dodgers and the Show Pods.
I mean, I just go back to the whole running on spite. Like, we just we bring out the best in each other. I mean, you saw that when we got to the postseason last year. Like, you guys gave us a run for our money and knocked us out. So you guys don't ever fail to not show up. So, I mean, it's 4 games. I'm just like you said, this could be a game changer for the season. So I'm a little concerned. Just like you said, our bullpens are both taxed. We've kind of fixed that with the trade deadline, but we're still getting flack from our media as far as, you know, what trades we did or didn't make. I'm sure you guys are getting a little bit of that on your side too. So going into this, I know we're going to go head to head. So you guys worry me every time.
How bummed are you guys? This is a question for any of you guys about the whole Erod situation at the trade deadline, rejecting his trade to the Dodgers.
I'm not bummed at all, Borna. I think the Dodgers dodged a bullet with Erod, because if you look at his numbers outside of that AL Central, his ERA, I mean, that AL Central's offense, I mean, no wonder his ERA is that good. I mean, when you're facing Las Medias Blancas, you're facing the Gemelos, you're facing those offensive juggernauts in the AL Central. I think he would have gotten lit up in the NL West and the rest of the teams that the Dodgers are going to face. So I think they dodged a bullet. I think it's just one of those things where Friedman, I think, was in a tough place because obviously the prices were ridiculous. Yeah. And to your point, I think you're right. I think it's something that the Mets did, you know, where they just decided we're going to blow this up and use it. And probably 2 years from now, the Mets are going to be very happy that they sold Scherzer and they sold Verlander.
I agree.
So it's a tough situation because, you know, you want to win now, right? It's all about winning a World Series. So what message are you sending to your team? I hear the Guardians are not happy. The GM of the Guardians had to go in and talk to the clubhouse and explain, you know, their lack of moves. So it's like, what message are you sending to your team? In terms of that, look, the regular season, I think they have enough to win the regular season. It's the postseason. And call it PSD for whatever the show pods did to us last year. But I'm old enough to remember when the Dodgers won 111 games in a regular season, and the show pods did a gentleman's sweep on us in the playoffs, and that can happen very easily again this year. I think your show pods are about to go on a run if they haven't already started going on a run. Am I wrong there, Borna? Is it just the trauma speaking, or aren't the show pods starting to play better?
They've won 5 of 6 games. One thing that's ridiculous is that they don't have a win streak of more than 3 games this year. How ridiculous is that? But hey, they've won 5 of 6 games. They swept the Texas Rangers. They should have won 6 games in a row. They lost a heartbreaker in Coors. They won the next 2. Listen, this is the biggest series of our season so far. This is the litmus test. This is it. It's now or never. We've played 109 games. We have the new acquisitions. You know Petco's going to be rocking. They have Darvish. They have Snell. They have some of their big cogs going on the mound. Luckily, you guys avoid Musgrove. And we'll see. Lugo probably goes Sunday, and we'll see if Waka makes his return Monday. But, I mean, it's now or never. I mean, both teams are a little bit reinforced. The Padres need this series more than the Dodgers do. I'm not saying it's not an important series for the Dodgers, but we're wild card chasing. I mean, I'm scoreboard watching Marlins Phillies at 9 a.m. this morning. That's how where we're at. You guys are, you know, trying to win the division. So, yeah, I mean, we are playing good baseball. I will say Juan Soto is the hottest hitter on the planet right now. And we are finally, after a year, finally getting that Washington Nationals Juan Soto, crushing balls to the opposite field, just demolishing pitchers. And that's what we need. Ha-Seong Kim also, if you haven't checked in on him, probably one of the best players in the National League this year. Dude is almost a 6-WAR player, leads the National League in WAR, was on pace for easily a 25-25 season, 850 OPS. My goodness. So, yeah, the Padres are playing good baseball. Can they play good baseball against their divisional rivals who sometimes get them up here? Stay tuned.
See, if I would have said everything that Borna just said right now, I'm the Prince of Darkness. I love the show pods. I hate the Doyers. Everything that Borna just said right now is the reason why I think it's going to be a tough series this weekend in San Diego, and it's going to be tough. I want to end the show setting it up this way because he's been very quiet this whole time. But Babyface buried your show pods about 2 months ago, saying they were almost 6 feet under. Babyface, I know you still feel that the show pods are buried. Here
Tell
is
me.
your opportunity. Do you want to change your mind right now and be like, you know what? The show pods are getting hot at the right time. And with this new playoff format, this is what it's all about now.
No, I mean, I think it is a big series, like Borna said. But like you said, when it's in San Diego, it's always huge, right? The fans are going to be out, and I think the Padres play up to that, right? They come out with intensity, and they're in it. So if they lose this series, it's going to crush them, right? It's going to crush them. So for me, why I say like it's going to be hard for them is because they're not just chasing one team, right? You're chasing the wild card, which is a lot. You got 2, 3, 4 teams. You got a hot Cubs team. You got the D-backs. You got the Brewers are in there. The
Marlins, the Phillies.
Marlins, Phillies. So that's the tough climb. So like if they do go on a streak where they can reel off more than 4, 5, 6 games, obviously it does them well. But to me, like I said, it's hard for a team that hasn't done it all year and to suddenly just turn it on. It's that's hard to think like, yeah, they're just going to turn it on and do it, right? When they haven't done it all year. So, like I said, it's a big test this weekend. And if the Dodgers go in there and win this series, I think that's going to really crush the Padres.
What's
I feel like this is the perfect time though, right, for the Padres, because they're going to use the Dodgers as a catalyst, like back to that, like running on spite. Like if there was any team that's going to kickstart the Padres right now, it's us. If you guys, I don't want you to beat us, but like if you guys come to life, like this is going to be it. This is what's going to ignite that for you guys. Like that's what I'm afraid of.
They're flipping the switch. This is exactly what they did last year. And this is what La Reina had been warning us about and saying, don't bury them. Don't bury them. There's just too much talent on that team. And, Snell's been pitching great. Borna, to answer your question. Go ahead, quick, Babyface.
I mean, I would think they'd actually have a better shot at chasing the division. I mean, even though they're 8.5 games out. It's like if they swept the Dodgers, right, they're right back in at 4 games. I think that'd be a better shot than chasing the wild card for them, just because of the interdivision matchups that are coming up. But, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the Padres, they do have 7 more games against the Diamondbacks, 7 more games against the Giants, 3 more against the Brewers, 3 more against the Phillies, 3 more against the Marlins. I think those are the important games. Those are the head-to-heads of all the teams above them. So it's all in front of them for the taking. They have to take it.
No, absolutely.
And we're the gatekeeper right now. Great.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Borna, I think the show pods are winning 3 out of 4 this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about Babyface and Amy?
I'm hoping we split. If we can just split at least 2-2, I'll be happy.
I mean, I'll take the split, but I'm gonna go 3 out of 4 Dodgers.
Padres fans, we're taking the split. Yeah, if we have a chance to split, we'll get out of there with the split. That's how I feel.
I think, you guys are going to see Emmett Sheehan. Emmett Sheehan is going to be pitching against guys like Machado, guys like Soto. And even though Emmett Sheehan had a good outing, his last outing, before that, we saw his control problems. We saw what the Rangers did to him. That concerns me. The Dodgers have not lined up their pitching for this weekend. You might see Yarborough, the way Dave Roberts said. Yarborough's probably they're going to use an opener, and then Yarborough's going to be the long man. So because of that, the pitching does not line up, and you guys are throwing Snell, who kills us, which means Austin Barnes is going to have to come save us. So there you go. No more Austin Barnes hatred. And then Yu Darvish. And, Walker's been pitching really well for you guys this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been awesome. But the thing is, I don't know if he's going to return. He's been out for about 7 weeks now. They're hoping he can pitch against y'all on Monday. It's kind of weird. We have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday series, but the hope is he can go Monday. But they don't know yet with his return. So if Waka isn't ready, you're probably going to see Rich Hill's Padre debut, former Dodger.
Well, I mean, look, Borna, I want to thank you for coming on. I always look forward to this because of the energy in this series, especially when the Dodgers play down in San Diego. The show pod fans come out, and to me, this is good for baseball. You want more of these kinds of series where you feel the energy coming through the TV, and you just hope your team can pull it off. I hope we have good games. I hope we don't have blowouts, but I want to be respectful of your time, Borna. I want to thank you again, Borna. Where, if we got some crossover, if we got some Show Pods fans coming out here who don't know about you, where can they follow you on the social media?
Yeah, guys, all my social medias are at the Hogwatch, as you can see on your screen, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Hogwatch. Also, make sure you check us out on the Ring the Bell podcast with our fellow awesome friends here at the Believe Network with Nick Kreider and former 3-time Padres All-Star Heath Bell. It's my first time on y'all's show at Bleed Los, but I really appreciate the hospitality, and I'm glad we were able to get together. It's I love doing this with y'all. I'm not going to lie. I hate the Dodgers, but I did appreciate this. You guys live rent-free in my head. I'd be lying to you if I said they didn't.
Look, we can talk like normal people.
No doubt.
And, we could talk because, look, nobody's going to piss me off more than the Dodgers, and I feel like nobody pisses you off more than the Padres, even though you hate the Dodgers.
I'm not going to have hair in 5 years if I remain a Padre fan, but it's fine. I'll enjoy it while I have it.
And there you have it, folks. Borna, thank you very much. And a big thank you once again to Borna. Do you know how to pronounce his last name, Babyface? I don't want to butcher it. Is it Nazari?
I think it's Nazari.
I should have asked him. Borna Nazari. You see him. He is Mr. Showpod. Yeah, he does work with the Ring the Bell podcast, the Hogwatch, and he has that great rant. And that to me is a true fan. That was coming from his soul. That was right there. He hates losing. That to me was the expectation that was sent. That was, if we had more time with Borna, what I wanted to get into that we didn't get a chance to talk to him about is how the show pods are going to keep paying all these people. Because he mentioned that, Hader's going to want a lot of money. Blake Snell's going to want a lot of money. They've already handed out these contracts, and we haven't even gotten to the point yet of the renewal for Juan Soto. And if Juan Soto is back to being Washington Nationals Juan Soto, that dude's going to want a lot of money. Reina, what did you think about what Borna had to say about the show pods?
I mean, it's always nice to see an objective fan. Like, you can still have the passion for your team, but you're not unable to look past, other teams and what they bring to the table. And I think that's what I love about baseball. I don't like smack talking in baseball. Like, I like good natured, let's bring in stats, let's talk about that. But I have never been one to just smack talk for the sake of smack talking. I hate the Beat LA chant. I hate people who are like mean to the show pods just for no reason to any other team out there. So for me, it was refreshing. That's the kind of baseball fan I am. So
shots are fired, Babyface. I know you think this is all an attack on you, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. If the show pods end up making a move, you know who's responsible for this, right? You do know what moment it's not going to be the show pods beating the Dodgers in San Diego this weekend. The thing that turned around the show pod season was you burying them. You said they were 5 feet under. Now, do you regret what you've done? You just woke a sleeping giant, my friend. The show pods are pulling the Undertaker right now, and you're the one holding the urn.
I don't regret it. I mean, I think, like I said, this is a big test for the Padres this weekend. So this weekend, if they don't win this series, I mean, whatever you want to say, stick a fork in them. Everything else, like, I think that will be, because it's going to be two things, right? They're going to knock down in the standings, and it's going to be another shot to their morale. Like, we didn't mention this with Borna, but he hits the nail right on the head. It's like Padres fans, and rightfully so, they get up for the series, right? It's the biggest series of the year. It's their World Series, right? Every time the Dodgers go to San Diego, it's their World Series. But I've said this a lot. I think the Padres get that in their head too, and they want to beat this team so bad. That's their number one goal. If they beat this team, they're having a party in the clubhouse. They have piñatas. They got everything going, and that's how it's been for them. They beat them in the playoffs last year, and that was it. That's all they cared about, and that's what I keep thinking. Until they get that out of their head, that okay, we beat the Dodgers, everything's great. Until they can get past that, then they're able to move on. But if they have that in their head still, that mentality, all we want to do is beat the Dodgers, then they're gonna have troubles.
See, this is what always concerns me, and you bring this up every time the Dodgers play the show pods. All of a sudden, Manny Machado's out there stealing bases. You see him with the effort, and you always sit there and go, why can't the Dodgers play like this? The Dodgers are slow and steady. Tranquilo. It's the tortoise and the hare. It is the show pods come out like gangbusters, and the Dodgers are still like, doo-doon, 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 doo-doon. They are, I don't know if it's just their experience. They've been through this. But we're going to see it this weekend. And you're absolutely right, because if the show pods end up losing 3 out of 4, then I think your prediction might be right, Babyface, because losing 3 out of 4, not only because of the division, but because like the Diamondbacks are going through something right now. And I hope they still stay like this when the Dodgers see them next week. But the Diamondbacks are one of those teams ahead of the show pods. The Cubs, you mentioned it, Babyface. The Cachorros are really hot right now. The Cachorros may have broken the Rojos, but whatever the Cachorros did to the Rojos, the Dodgers need to find out. They need to copy that recipe, because if the Dodgers end up playing the Rojos again in the postseason, they need to do what the Cachorros did, because what was it? Through 2 games, they had scored like 36 runs against them?
36 runs over the last 2 games. So it's like 20 and 16. It's like...
So that's the thing that concerns me going into this series, is clearly this series means more to the show pods. The show pods are desperate, Now, they have won 5 of 6. It was interesting to see Borna say that this team has not won more than 3 in a row. So that is, it gives me comfort that at least the Dodgers won't get swept this weekend. But I do feel like this is going to be a playoff series for the show pods. How are the Dodgers going to react to it? And more importantly, are the Dodgers going to are they going to try hard to win this series when they're like, it's the dog days of August? Right now, these guys just want to stay healthy and make it to the end of the road, right? Because the update that we got from Dave Roberts, this JD Martinez thing is the same thing that ended his season last year. Is this hamstring growing thing that is somehow connected to his back. So that's concerning to me, only because it ended his season, and he's a huge part of that lineup. I mean, Dave Roberts told us before the pregame scrum that what they're looking at now is this seems to flare up whenever he plays in day games. So does that mean now JD Martinez is not going to play in day games? So you're gonna lose him for day games in this season and just save the day games for the postseason. So that's the thing. That's why it's like, oh, there's Juan being the Prince of Darkness again. I'm trying to think the way these guys think, how Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman think, and they're so conservative during the regular season, where it's just like, look, it's not worth the risk. Meanwhile, the show pods, they have to risk it, because it's like they're on the outside looking in. So when you're playing against a team that it's like, look, we got nothing to lose. We're already the laughing stock of baseball. They're desperate. I don't think it's going to be a favorable weekend. I hope I am wrong, but I don't think it's going to be a favorable weekend in San Diego. Reina, talk me off this ledge. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I do think you're wrong on some level, just because we can't afford tortoise and hare aside. Like, we can't afford that right now. The Giants are 2.5 games back. So even if we're not going up against, we can afford to lose a couple games to the Padres, we can't afford to drop any ground on the Giants, because again, both the Giants and the Padres give us a run for our money every year. No matter how they're doing in the standings, they still are ones that take games from us that we might need at the end of the season. So I think we have to be all in, whether we have as much invested in the Padres as they do. So I think we're still going to be okay.
The pitching matchups is going to be interesting, because Roberts has still not announced how the pitching is going to line up for the weekend. The only thing we know for sure is that Bobby Miller is going to be pitching on Friday. So based on how the rotation has gone so far, Then you're probably looking at Emmett Sheehan pitching on Saturday. What I found very interesting that he told us in the pregame scrum the other day is Michael Grove is going to the bullpen. They are absolutely skipping his turn in the rotation. What I thought was interesting was I think Michael Grove is a candidate to be sent down once Kershaw comes back, because Robert said he's on the roster, so we're going to use him out of the bullpen. So that means if they're skipping Grove, then that means that maybe what? So that means on Sunday, Lance Lynn's going to pitch. And then you're going to have Tony Gonsolin pitch on Monday. So you're going to have Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, Lance Lynn. Let's talk about it. We saw his debut against the Oakland Athletics, and everybody loved. He went 7 innings. The home runs. Now, going into it, people were saying, he's prone to the home run ball. He's given up a lot of home runs this year. He started off great. It was like, oh, if this is the Lance Lynn, maybe it's just Lance Lynn pitching for a good team is going to change things, and now he's going to be awesome. When they started hitting those solo home runs, babyface, what did you think?
I mean, isn't that thing like the solo home run's not going to kill you, right? He gave up that one, but then he gave up another one. Then he comes out in 7th, right? And he gives up another, and so it's 4-3 now. So now you're like, crap. Like now we're obviously, he got through the 7th, and then they were able to get insurance runs after that. But yeah, I mean, they're not going to kill you, right? They're sporadic, solo shots, but it is a problem that he has to work on and figure out what it is that he's doing, whether he's missing location or just leaving it up. He definitely gotta do that. But if he gives up a solo home run here and there, it's not the end of the world, right? So, but definitely something got to work on.
Can I bring my sunshine and rainbows in for just a second?
Bring it in. I'm going to lead you in with this, though, right now. Being that it's going to be only his second start with the Dodgers, I don't know if they're going to be able to fix this problem that quickly. But, Reina, does it not concern you that he has a home run problem and we're going to be facing Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Tatis this weekend? Now,
100%.
Give me sunshine.
But the other side of that is he just got here. How can we fix it when the guy's still learning people's names in the clubhouse and how to even make his way around the park, let alone we haven't really had time for our coaching staff to assess him to the extent where we can even affect a change. So yeah, is it disappointing that he's giving up home runs and we're about to go into a Padres series? Yes, but we got to give the guy a break. He just got here. You can't just magically turn it on and make that change right away. So we're going to have to be patient.
Let me ask you this, Reina. The fact that he was pitching with a 4-run lead, did that factor into him giving up those home runs? Was he maybe more towards the middle of the plate than he should have been because he had a 4-run cushion? If it was a closer game, could Lance Lynn might have been pitching differently and not give up the home run? The thing that to me that's alarming is Dodger Stadium isn't necessarily known as a home run hitter's park. So the fact that he gave up 3 home runs like that, I'm trying to be positive like you. I mean, I loved that he gave 7 innings. I love that. But the home runs is concerning, especially with guys that swing from their ankles on this Show Pods team like Machado and Tatis.
I think if we back up for a minute, though, kind of what we were talking about offline, what was really available in this trade market, though? From whatever the media has to say about this, of our available options, what was available and what we have, I mean, he went 7 innings. And we still won the game. The offense bolstered him. So is it ideal? No. We got what we could, and we're doing with it what we can. So I guess, I mean...
Put a pin in that one, Reina, because I do want to go back and talk about this trade deadline. But babyface, the fact that Tony Gonsolin, again, went through 5 innings, in the 4th and the 5th inning, it seemed like Roberts was just chomping at the bit to pull him, and so Gonsolin is going to go down to San Diego against this free swinging team. The way the pitching is lining up, I mean, to me, the most interesting thing is to see how Bobby Miller looks against the Showpots. You know, you've brought this up many times, Babyface. Bobby Miller seems to have one bad inning, and that's when the game gets away from him. I would like to see, I'm very eager to see if that happens in San Diego, how he deals with it. But in terms of Lance Lynn and his debut against the Athletics, are you more encouraged, or at this point, this is what you expected?
I think I'm probably both, right? I mean, we knew what Lance Lynn is and what's coming in, right? He's going to give you the innings and he's going to give up the long ball, right? And he did both, right? He got into the seventh, first time a Dodger got into the seventh, like, a couple months, right, since Kershaw. But yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of expected from Lance Lynn. He saved the bullpen that day, right? Bullpen just came out 2 innings and everything was good. And maybe that was the reason for the game with Gonsolin, right? We're discussing it, right? He went 5 innings. He was at like 80 some odd pitches, right? And he didn't get to see the lineup a third time, right? I mean, I was good with that start because he only gave up 1 run, which was really good. But yeah, I mean, I do want to see Gonsolin go in deeper in these games, right? He's going to need to get into that 6th, and if he can touch the 7th, even better, just to save on that bullpen. But also going back to Bobby Miller, this is a huge start, I think, for Bobby Miller, because this is, I think, his first start where it's gonna feel like a playoff atmosphere. Yeah. Definitely in San Diego, right? The crowd's going to bring it. So this is a huge start, and I think Bobby Miller is kind of built for this moment. So we'll see how he does and goes out there, and if he gives him 5-6, under 3 runs, right, we'll take that.
The Gonsolin thing, to me, again, I've called him a riddle, and the thing that just fascinates me is I get his pitch count, and obviously the Dodgers are very concerned with Gonsolin's stamina, because the minute he gets to 80 pitches, it seems like 80 pitches to Gonsolin is like over 100 pitches for any other pitcher. It is like, clearly this is the warning sign. It's hard for me to sit there and question Roberts on this one, because they had the off day on Monday. Lance Lynn gave you 7 innings. There's guys in that bullpen that hadn't pitched for a while, and these guys need to pitch in order to keep sharp. So I'm going to try to ignore the fact that maybe it didn't look so good that the Dodgers didn't trust Tony Gonsolin to go 1 more inning with a 7-run lead. And I'm just going to chalk it up to the fact that Roberts just wanted to give the bullpen some work. Reina, is that positive enough for you, or how do you deal with the Gonsolin?
I'm actually impressed. Well done. It's like you said, he's an enigma. I don't understand it. I mean, you can see him start to get in trouble. He starts to, 1 or 2 people creep up on the bases. He loads the bases. Sometimes he can get out of it. Sometimes he can't. So it's, even if you do have that 7-run lead, like, is in some cases, is that enough? But then again, his stats kind of speak for themselves too. So I don't know what to make of it.
Yes. So the Dodgers have 1 more, at the time of the recording of this, the Dodgers will have 1 more game against the Oakland Athletics. And the first 2 games the Dodgers have done what is expected of them. The Oakland Athletics are not a very good team. And the Dodgers are doing it. So hopefully they will finish off the sweep, because they need to. They need to beat these teams that they should be beating and try to cushion that lead, especially with the hated ones on their trail. That being said, maybe I guess I would have liked to have seen Gonsolin just give them 1 more inning, but look, at this point, they're in the middle of a 13-game stretch. So again, I get Roberts' thinking. And that's the thing, guys. I know if you guys listen to this show, you're going to sit there and be like, oh, you guys are homers or anything like that. When I give you perspective, it's from the perspective of the guys that are running this team. I'm trying to think like these guys. I'm listening to what they tell us when we go to the games, when we're in the clubhouse. And I mean, I've always gotten this vibe that the leash is much tighter on Gonsolin than it is on any other. And even from the beginning of the year, they were making such a big deal about Gonsolin's recovery time. And I didn't hear them talking about any other Dodger pitcher like this. So again, here's hoping Kershaw comes back healthy. Here's hoping Julio will figure things out, because come the playoffs, Tony Gonsolin is either going to be your number 3 or your number 4. And you have a guy that you know about the 4th or the 5th inning. All right, we got to pull him. We got to pull him. And that just does not give me confidence. Before I segue into the next topic that I want to do, I do want to just get your guys' thoughts on this Dodgers Oakland A's series. There just doesn't seem to have been very much excitement for this series because the A's are just bad. They just are really bad. Babyface, the fact that the Dodgers have scored 17 runs in the first 2 games against the Oakland Athletics, I know you had called for a sweep. If they don't sweep, will you be disappointed?
I'll be a bit disappointed. I mean, it's definitely a series they got to sweep, right? And it's definitely a series to get them ready for San Diego, right? You want to just go out there and hit and score. And because the previous series, right, they struggled a bit, right? The previous on this homestand, they struggled to score. They struggled to score. Yeah. They struggled. So getting the A's and, you know, doing your thing and scoring and playing like you know you're capable, I think it's good for them, especially going into San Diego for this weekend series.
Reina, what are your thoughts on this Oakland Athletics series? So much so that you just decided not even to go to Wednesday's game because it wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even worth your trouble, to go to Wednesday's game.
Well, at Tuesday's game and I'm going to tonight's game. I think if I make 2 of them, I'm good. I think we need the sweep right now. It is the A's, but we still need that confidence boost. We still need that extra game to get up over the Giants. They're playing the Diamondbacks right now. Like, they have a little easier time, especially with how the Diamondbacks have been playing. So like, we need that easy run as well, just to sustain our lead. So hopefully we get the sweep.
And I just want to point this out there to our listeners. Make sure you're following us on the social medias. A new show, a new feature that we're doing just on social media is an offshoot of the Bleed Lows podcast called Sangronando. And so I did one called The Summer of Sell. I was able to talk to some of these Oakland Athletics fans in the stadium. I even was able to talk to Dave Roberts and get his thoughts on this whole, when the Oakland A's fans chant, sell the team, and Dodger fans joined in on it. And Babyface knows this probably better than anyone, because Babyface was the guy who ran Frank McCourt out of Los Angeles. I really feel bad for these Oakland A's fans. They clearly love their team, and for the writing to be on the wall that this team is bad, and they're still fighting to keep this team, and they're bad. I ran into the Oakland A's beat writer, Martin Gallegos, and I just looked at him and I'm like, oh, man, you have a tough job. And he's just like, look, I've been doing it for 5 years. This is how it's been. It's like, it's a 10-1 game. This is how every game is. The fact it's just all negative energy over there with the Oakland A's. The fans that I talked to, I was just like, look, man, I know what it feels like to have a crappy owner, to have somebody who you just don't think is in it for the right reasons. And, now you start to sit there and what is the purpose of an owner, right? Yes, you own the team, and I get it. In your mind, if you're the owner, you want to make as much money as possible making it, but don't you owe it to the city? Do you owe it to that public that you got to try to win? And look, I think Fisher will probably make the argument that, will the Tampa Bay Rays find a way to make it to be competitive, and they don't spend a lot of money. I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to follow the model of the Tampa Bay Rays. Babyface, when you see this and the fans going around and chanting sell, does it bring back memories of your battles with Frank McCourt?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, it's just so different though, because it's like they want him to sell, but they're already like planning on moving, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how far into the process. I mean, it looks like they've got a place. I mean, I don't know if they're voting or what are they doing in Las Vegas to officially make it official, but it just seems like this is really hard to. I don't know if they can reverse course. but I'm all for it, right? If the fans could somehow get that guy to sell, right? If this guy doesn't, he doesn't think that, he can make money there or whatever. I mean, we've seen the A's; they've been competitive, right? I mean, even going back a couple years ago, even when they haven't had like a star-studded team, they've had players, right? They've had like Matt Chapman, the Braves first baseman now, right?
Matt
they've had
Olson.
they've had a lot of players that come up and they're good players, and they end up trading them away. And like I said, they've been competitive in the West, even when they haven't had, like I said, huge payrolls. So they do find a way to make it work when they want to make it work as well. But obviously the number one situation is the stadium situation, right? Even if they stay, they got to find a better place to play. And I mean, like I said, I'd love to see them. Hearing Oakland A's fans, it's a part of their, they're that other Bay team, right? They're not the Giants, right? I have no issues with the A's, right? I mean, the A's are there, right? And, I mean, I would love to see them succeed staying in Oakland, and it's unfortunate, if they do end up moving to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, this whole situation to me feels like there is something shady going on here. I know that your favorite commissioner of all time, Rob Manfred, has basically, and look, again, we have to remember that Rob Manfred works for the owners, that, they've tried to do everything to stay in Oakland, but the city is just not cooperating. Meanwhile, the city will argue the exact opposite and say, look, we're trying. This is the bottom line, is it's all comes down to money, right? Follow the money. Now, whether the Vegas thing to me is genuine in the sense that they want the Oakland A's, there's a part of me that feels that they're using Vegas just to, even if they don't get the Oakland A's, to get an expansion team, get people just interested in baseball. Because I bet you the people who live in Vegas, they don't want the Oakland A's. They want a brand new baseball team that they can call their own. So all this talk about the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas, if that's just getting interest in the city of Las Vegas just for baseball, maybe the play in Vegas is more for an expansion team than not necessarily the Oakland A's. And I just feel like Fisher probably wants a stadium built to him. I mean, I saw some renderings of some proposed stadiums that they were going to build in Oakland, and they looked beautiful. I was like, that's a stadium I would like to go to. And I think, look, we go back when we had Dave Stewart on the show. He told us when the A's were really good in the early 90s, that stadium was full. They were able to drive. Like anything, if you put a good product on the field, the fans will come. It's just that this guy hasn't made much of an effort to put a good product in the field. And of course, the fans are going to get pissed off when you have good players and then you trade them away. I mean, they had to find a way that was competitive. It was just, check it out on our social media, on our Instagram, I'm still calling it Twitter. I mean, am I supposed to call it X? Is that what we're talking about? Reina, what are your thoughts on this whole with the fans, these Oakland A's fans who still are staying loyal and fighting for their team?
I mean, I stand with the fans. Like, we were there chanting with them on Tuesday night because, I mean, it would suck. Can you imagine if we lost our team? There's a book I'm reading, The Lords of the Realm, and it talks about like the evolution, the historical, like how the owners came into play, how the commissioner role came into play. It's really interesting because we're talking about expansion teams and potentially like, doing all this stuff. We can't even control some of the teams in the league where, we've had to have extra wild cards because people just aren't building up their teams, and you have the same teams in the World Series run every year. If we can't even manage what we're doing right now, what are we doing expanding? Like, hold the managers, hold the owners of the teams to a different standard. Maybe you don't move to Vegas, maybe you move somewhere else in the Bay Area, but there are ways that you can handle this and keep the people who are going to watch your teams in the seats. And that's just not happening, but who's holding them accountable at this point?
Now, look, you bring up a good point in terms of the extra wild cards, and I want to switch. Give me a good transition to my next topic. We did a live show reacting to the trade deadline, and everyone on this show, look, we have been critical of Andrew Friedman, but I don't know if you guys saw the pieces that the LA Times put out after the trade deadline. One of them by Bill Plaschke, and then the other one by friend of the Carnesada, Dylan Hernandez, where they really went after Friedman. And I even had fans have messaged us after that episode that we dropped, fans basically saying this trade deadline was a failure and that Friedman blew it. So I want to be fair to Andrew Friedman. And now some time has passed from the trade deadline where I'm going to try to be maybe a little more objective here in terms of what actually Andrew Friedman did at the trade deadline. I want to start with Bill Plaschke's piece. If for those of you who haven't read it, I mean, he basically said that, Friedman blew it. He blew it. But there's a couple of things in that article that I want to address. And one of the things that you brought up, Reina, is something that Plaschke actually mentions in his article. And that is the fact that now that you have these extra playoff spots, you have more teams that are buyers than sellers. So when it comes to the trade market is going to be tougher now. And I think that Andrew Friedman was a guy that in the previous deadlines was able to win because there were more options. There were more people that were selling. And because more people were selling, the prices came down and Andrew Friedman could take advantage of that. Now that there are more playoff teams, does this mean this is how the trade deadline I think is going to be like for the Dodgers in the future? You're not going to be able to get the Trey Turners, the Machados anymore because you're going to have a lot more competition to do that. So if this is the new way that baseball is going to proceed and Andrew Friedman no longer has the advantage, how are we going to measure what is the success? Is it now the fact that prospects are even going to carry more weight? I mean, they're going to have more value at this point. I know you have been saying this throughout the whole time. Who was he supposed to get? Reina, what is your reaction to the heat that Andrew Friedman is getting after this trade deadline?
I think it's unfair. I mean, to your point, in the past, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees were the powerhouses payroll wise. And then now you've got the Padres coming in, the Mets coming in, and they're flashing their payroll. You even got, Houston, people are stepping up, the Rangers, but who was he supposed to get? Not only do we not have a lot of superstar names out there, but everybody knew what our problem was, which did drive the price up. So people want to hold him to this high standard of he should have done this, but okay, so what's your solution? Because I'm not hearing solutions. I'm just hearing complaining.
Which is, I think, very interesting that you bring that up because in Plaschke's piece, he brings that up. He brings up Justin Verlander. That's someone they should have gone after. They didn't get him. Max Scherzer, they didn't get him. Lucas Giolito, they didn't get him. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, they didn't get him. And what cracks me up is he mentions these pitchers in his article, but then he proceeds to give you reasons as to why the Dodgers didn't pull off the trade. The fact that Justin Verlander had a no-trade clause and didn't want to pitch for the Dodgers. Eduardo Rodriguez didn't want to pitch for the Dodgers. Max Scherzer, he even acknowledges in his piece, there's no way you can bring Max Scherzer back to the Dodgers after the first time. I mean, Max Scherzer just did it again. Max Scherzer is very good at blowing up his former teams. He basically just told all of Major League Baseball what the Mets' plans were. Now the Mets are completely out of the Shohei Ohtani. Why would you want? To me, Max Scherzer seems, as much as I appreciate his honesty, Max Scherzer really comes off as self-serving and not a team player. So you're giving me three guys that you're saying the Dodgers should have gotten, but at the same time, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth saying, well, but there was no way they could have gotten them, right? Lucas Giolito is the only one. And as La Reina pointed out very quickly, Lucas Giolito did not have a very good start against the Bravos of Atlanta. So you're hoping that if the Dodgers give up a lot to get Lucas Giolito, that's not the Lucas Giolito that you're getting. Babyface, in terms of everything that I just told you right now with Plaschke criticizing Andrew Friedman, is Andrew Friedman getting an unfair shake here at the trade deadline?
Well, Friedman spoke that day, that trade deadline day, and he said there was only really two targets that the Dodgers were after. They're after Verlander and Rodriguez. Verlander wanted to go to Houston, and then we saw what Rodriguez ended up vetoing that trade. So
Yeah.
who else? I mean, you hear it everywhere. There'd be Dodgers should go for Cease, and then once Cease was off the market at that time, then they're like, they should go for Verlander. They should go for this guy, and everybody's just throwing it out there. It's a lot different being in Andrew Friedman's shoes and being out here and not saying, hey, you should go for this guy. I mean, they know what they can do and what they can't do, and what they want to give up. I mean, the Astros gave up their number one prospect, right?
Yeah.
For Verlander. Do you want to do that as a Dodger fan? Do you want to give up your number one prospect? Because that's what they're going to ask for. And I know prospects are valued differently by different teams, but if they come to you and they say, we want your number one or your number two, and that's it, like, are you going to do it? It doesn't matter like who it is. Like if they say we want your number one or your number two, and most of the time they're going to say, because I can guarantee you that anybody that Friedman was probably talking to, who's that person that they're asking for? Bobby Miller, right?
Yeah.
And probably if Dodgers say, you know what, we're not interested in trading Bobby Miller, then they'd probably be, the other team's probably like, okay, thank you. If you change your mind, get back to us. And that's probably where it ended, right? I bet you on a lot of those calls.
Right, but like as friend of the carne asada, Casey Stern always says, prospects are cool, but parades are cooler. If you end up winning the World Series, because this is what it's about, right, is winning the World Series. Like the Nationals won the World Series in 2019. The Nationals have not been good since, but hey, they got that World Series to show for it, right?
To be fair, they came in on a wild card and they beat us because we did what we do sometimes in the first round of the postseason. So I'm not trying to not give the Nationals their due, but let's remember how they got there too.
Well, no, but what I'm saying, isn't it the fact that I know you remember that they beat us and they came in as a wild card. I was
there.
But in the end, isn't the end result they won the World Series? And isn't this what this is about? Like, don't you need to, like, I find it very interesting that the GM of the Guardians had to go into that clubhouse because the players of the Guardians were pissed because they didn't get any help. Hey, you guys got Noah Syndergaard. What are you guys upset about? You got Noah Syndergaard. But like, do you guys think that anybody in that Dodgers clubhouse was like, that's it? We're riding with Lance Lynn, Yarborough, Kike, and Rosario? That's what's going to help us?
You've bolstered with Kike and Kelly, even just as fan favorites. I know that doesn't go towards stats, but I feel like that does still go a long way. But we've talked about this before. Even the Verlander trade. Is he going to be a good fit in the clubhouse? We've done that before where it's not a good fit. And then what happened? We just got our chemistry like really backfiring on all cylinders. Do you bring in Verlander, even if he wanted to come here? I mean, he's having a decent season, but like, is he going to be a good fit? Is he going to knock off what we already have? And is that worth it when he wasn't even coming here in the first place? He wasn't even available. So what are we complaining about?
Babyface, could you criticize Andrew Friedman in the sense that maybe he spent too much time on the Eduardo Rodriguez trying to make that deal happen and completely being blindsided by the fact that Rodriguez didn't want to go there? Like, could he have spent more time trying to make another deal happen? Or is Andrew Friedman somebody who can do two things? He can walk and chew gum at the same time. While he's working on the Rodriguez deal, he could be looking at somewhere else. Is that a fair criticism to say, hey, man, you didn't do your homework on this one. You spent way too much time. You should have pivoted earlier to try to get a better option?
Well, I mean, I think, that he can do two things, right? I mean, but I don't think he's like, okay, now all his time's here. I mean, he's got other people that are working on different stuff. It's not like, you know what, guys, I'm busy here with Rodriguez, and that's it. That's all I'm doing. I mean, there's Brandon Gomes. What does Brandon Gomes do, right?
So then how did nobody know that Rodriguez, or do you think they didn't tell Friedman this? That, hey, dude, this guy doesn't want to go to the West Coast. Like, this seems like a big problem.
This is on Detroit's side as well, too. I mean, they got to, hey, you know what, we're interested in trading you. Will you waive your no trade clause? Now, if they got the impression that he would, and I think that's what they said, that all the impression was that he would do it. And either whatever happened at the end, whether he legitimately, maybe he didn't want to play for the Dodgers, he didn't want to come to the West Coast, or legitimate. He wanted to keep his family over there, and that was the reason that he gave. And that, like I said, that's his. When I think about it, I think it's like, why wouldn't he want to come play? If you're an athlete, right, you want to come and play and win another championship. He's won a championship, so maybe that has to do with it as well. Like, you know what, I've won a championship. It's all about my family now. I just want to keep them here. I want to keep everything just cool. And that's why he decided not to come. And, I can respect that, right? I mean, obviously, that's his decision. But like I said, I don't think that if they were only focused on two guys, Rodriguez and Verlander, and that's all they had, I mean, what are you going to do?
But it comes back to, who would they get? I think he can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. To Babyface's point, he's got a team. They have the best there. Who was he going to get? Who was available?
And that is the thing. I mean, we've talked with Toribio told us the same thing. The options that were out there, are they that much better than the options that you have right now? Like, if you get the Jack Flaherty, is it willing? And that's, Dylan Hernandez's piece, I think, is very interesting also, because Dylan Hernandez had said that he clearly valued the future as opposed to the right now. And that, to me, is the hard part of being a general manager, right? You have to win now, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you don't fall off the cliff. You want to be competitive. And that's the thing. I mean, we're talking 10 years now that the Dodgers have been in it every year. There hasn't been a year that the Dodgers haven't had a chance to be in the playoffs or win a World Series. Like, we've asked ourselves that question many times on this show. Would you rather win the World Series and suck for the next 10 years? Or would you rather have a chance to be in it every year? And that's what Andrew Friedman, I think, has to deal with, right? But I think it's going to be very interesting going on, because if this now is the new trade model in Major League Baseball, where you're going to have fewer and fewer sellers, and it's always going to be a seller's market, then that means to me that these prospects are going to carry more value, and maybe you're going to keep these prospects more, and you're not going to be willing to give them up. So I mean, hopefully we can have Dylan on the show and he can explain his thought process on that article. Dylan's always fun to have on the show. I want to wrap it up with this. I know that we were talking about Eduardo Rodriguez. He's getting a lot of heat because I guess Mookie had reached out to him, and was JD the other guy who reached out to him, Babyface?
JD did, Mookie did. I think he returned Mookie's text.
Right, and he was after,
and Peralta reached out to him. He didn't return his. At that time, he hadn't returned his call either.
Right, that's right, David Peralta. So, Reina, it is clear that it looks like Rodriguez is the villain in this piece. My only thing is did he owe it to have to respond to Peralta and Mookie and JD? I mean, Peralta was on a team. I get also the reason why he didn't want to go, because, and I will fight everyone on this, look at his numbers outside of the AL Central. His ERA is not good, and he's going to be a free agent. This is about his next contract. This is about him getting paid. If he stays in the AL Central and continues to put up these numbers, he's going to get paid by somebody. And I'm sure they took that into consideration. No, Reina?
I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what the communication was. They're saying they talked to him. He gave signs. He's saying no. We don't know what happened. We don't know what the communication was. And at the end of the day, like, it depends on the relationships you have with these players. Yes, we tend to look at them as team-centric. These guys know each other. But even if they do all kind of know each other, depending on when they came up, it doesn't mean that they're all like besties out there. So, whether he played with Peralta or, he didn't want to return Mookie's text, maybe it was just an awkward situation. Maybe he, like you said, he's looking out for his future, and not commenting at that point is the best thing in his interest. So, I mean, at the end of the day, these players get one shot. And, once they're either not healthy or they retire, like, that's all they get. So, I mean, I got to respect whatever decisions they're making. I don't think they're out here as these villains just trying to, like, what can I get over on everybody? So,
Babyface, do you think Rodriguez owed it to respond to Peralta and Mookie and JD in a timely fashion?
I mean, I think it is one of those like awkward. It was probably awkward. Like he got a text, like he just rejected the trade, he vetoed it, right? And then he gets a text from his former team. It's like, oh crap! Like what am I gonna like? I'm sure he's feeling a little bit awkward, and he's thinking it's nothing personal or whatever. But he's kind of like, how am I gonna say it? I mean, put yourself in that situation, right? Like maybe you
don't
turn
force
down
me
a
to
job.
do something I don't want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, he probably felt weird, and I'm sure he'll probably get back to them and say, hey, sorry, whatever, and explain to him like. I mean, I don't think like as soon as they Mookie texts me, I gotta answer him back right now,
Yeah.
So it is what it is, right?
Look, I think the Dodgers dodged a bullet, I'm telling you, with Rodriguez, but we want to wrap things up. So we don't have an update yet in terms of who won the picks last week, because at the time of this recording, the Dodgers and the Athletics have not played the last game. But it's either going to be La Reina de Playa Larga. If the Dodgers win, La Reina de Playa Larga will get her first win. She'll be on the board. But also our listeners will win because our listeners have 4-2. However, if the Dodgers do lose, then the Prince of Darkness will win for the second week in a row. So you guys don't label me a hater. I am rooting for the Dodgers to win tonight because I don't care. To me, the most important thing is the Dodgers win. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into the picks for the next series of games, and then we will update all of these on our next episode. So the next series of games is going to be 4 against the Show Pods in San Diego, and then we have 2 in Arizona against the Serpientes. So I know that I want to get it official, Babyface. You think 3 out of 4 against the Show Pods, right? The Dodgers are going to take 3 out of 4?
That's my hope, but I mean, I'm gonna probably just stay safe on it. Like I said, if they take 2, I'm good. So I'm probably gonna go with 2 there.
And La Reina, you said 2 also, right? 2-2 against the Show Pods.
yes.
All right. So
are we throwing Arizona in there as well?
Yeah. So what are you looking at?
I'm gonna go 3-3 total. 3-3 overall.
Well, there's 7 games right now.
No, Arizona's just 2.
6. Oh, that's right. You're right. Never mind. I'm stupid. Math is not
Juan's not good at math.
Yeah, no. This is I'm a broadcast journalism major,
and I told him thered be no math involved. So
yes, exactly.
I got you.
All right, so you're going 3-3. All right.
Yes.
And Babyface. Well, I'll go. Yeah. All right. So if you're gonna go 3-3, God, math is hard. I'm going to go 2-4. I'm going 2-4. I think they're going to have a hard time in San Diego this weekend, and I think they will split with the Serpientes. Babyface?
So I'm just going to keep this really, really safe, and we'll do 3-3.
All righty. So we got 3-3 and then 2-4. So for your listeners, just do what you've always been doing. Send us your picks. Either reach out to the Bleed Lows podcast on the Twitters or X, Instagram, whatever social media you follow us on. Let us know what your picks are, and then we will update everything on the next show. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and not only in the audio format, but you can watch it on YouTube and follow us on social media. Yo ha sido su servidor, Juan Ramírez, de parte de mis colegas, La Reina de Playa Larga, Amy Cuevas, and Babyface. Nos vemos para la próxima. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by betonline.ag, where the game starts.